pro-Hillary super PAC called Correct the Record is about to spend $1 million to arm an army of pro-Hillary supporters who are going to go into Reddit and Twitter and other social media sites and attack Bernie Sanders supporters. Not Bernie Sanders and not his actual surrogates, but literally go out there and start to fight with regular people who support Bernie Sanders. And this is not conjecture. I've got quotes from their actual press release because they are thrilled about this. And why shouldn't they be? Thanks to our shoddy campaign finance system, they're able to spend $1 million to do this, which I assume buys you a lot of online trolls. They can't come that expensive. But here are some segments from it. Hillary's supporters are way more enthusiastic than Senator Bernie Sanders supporters, yet oftentimes are discouraged from engaging online and are often afraid to voice their thoughts because of the fear of online harassment. Many of Hillary Clinton's female supporters in particular have been subject to intense cyberbullying and sexist attacks from swarms of anonymous attackers. I'm not going to say that some haven't been. They probably have been. We are talking about Reddit and Twitter, and there's a lot of trolls on both sides, enough to go around. But I love the idea that the reason you don't see a lot of her supporters online is simply because they're scared, not because they're far older on average and less numerous online. And by the way, they're afraid to go online and to voice their fears because of the threat of online harassment. And so to counter that, we're spending $1 million to get people to harass them back. I love the idea of that. But they've got more. And look, by the way, so they're worried about the tone. People are being unfair. They're being sexist. And this is another section from their press release. Lessons learned from online engagement with Bernie bros during the Democratic primary will be applied to the rest of the primary season and general election, responding quickly and forcefully to negative attacks and false narratives. They don't say anything about with facts, but hopefully that's what they'll use. Additionally, as the general election approaches, the task force will begin to push out information to Sanders supporters online, encouraging them to support Hillary Clinton. And they don't apparently see a bit of a disconnect there, that they're going to spend $1 million to go out there and to attack regular people who support Bernie Sanders. Intensely. And then eventually, maybe we'll try to get you to join us as well. Fuck you. We're going to use... Not after that.
We're going to use caps and double exclamation points, and we were going to fuck them up.
We're going to assault you with grammar so poor it'll blow your mind. And then please, will you join us at the table? But that's their strategy. And so they also have supplied information. So if we could just bring this picture up, there's some memes that they're going to be spreading for you to use.
Oh my God.
So what I love about that is the admission that you can't count on her actual supporters to come up with this stuff as Bernie Sanders supporters do. And so they're just going to make them for you. We've got another one as well.
Oh my goodness.
It's time to make the words middle class mean something again. I don't, through what, man? Like, I know some ways that we could make it mean something again. You listen to some Bernie Sanders speeches and you might come up with something. But anyway, what I love about this is I've had a lot of experience with dueling with some of these, not necessarily the paid ones, but now it's impossible to say. And I have not been wowed by their powers of persuasion or their grasp of the issues or even their grasp of her positions on the issues. Our reporter Jordan Chariton talks with Clinton supporters all the time, and they don't seem to have any idea what she would do if she were elected. Like, she talks very often about eliminating the gap between those who currently have health insurance and the 8 to 9 or 10% who don't. I, after 10 debates, 10 months, have no idea what she would do, and her supporters don't seem any better equipped with the facts. Maybe they haven't been paid well enough yet. And so, finally, you might wonder why this is even possible. Like, the idea that this is not coordination with her campaign, that the Clinton campaign has nothing to do with this, seems, I think, ridiculous on its face. This is a huge sum of money. Many of these people are going to be people who were affiliated with her campaign who are now going to be paid by a super PAC, but this is the state of American campaign finance. And the Sunlight Foundation's Libby Watson, who deals with transparency of money in politics, says the campaign finance lawyers are not that impressed with Correct the Record's logic, but they can get away with it because the FEC is deadlocked and does nothing. And what would they do? How can you stop it? It's such a huge amount of money. And by the way, so we've talked about how it's I think hilarious that Hillary Clinton says that she will eliminate Citizens United if she becomes president, and yet this is just another example of why would she?
Right.
If her online defense needs to be paid for through a super PAC, Why would she eliminate the ability of super PACs to raise money in future elections?
Again, it just feeds back into this lack of authenticity that she has. Just to your point, that she has to have this contrived campaign, this contrived social media campaign, which is put together by a super PAC, which is pulling various, I'm sure, it's pulling various social media experts together. It's not just going to be, as you said, it's not a grassroots movement at all. It's guys, people who are probably pretty savvy, one would assume, at putting together, targeted tweets and targeted messages across all the platforms. So it in a funny kind of way, it does, as much as it might be effective, because it might engage in a way, or in her mind it might be effective, but the fact of the matter is it has this lack of authenticity. So it starts to collapse in on itself, even with you having a generous approach to, or a generous mindset as to, this might actually be an effective strategy. The very foundation on which it is based. No, which it probably won't be. But I don't think that we should be surprised, because this is the new battleground. It is where she lacks any kind of semblance of real power and strength.
Yeah. That's why she loses the polls online that have to do with who won the debate, usually by 80-20. It's because she just doesn't have as many people online. There's an incentive to be positive towards her because it might get you some money eventually. It might get you a job, a position in her administration. Maybe you can be press secretary. Like, all of that is a consideration that, considering how poorly bloggers and reporters are paid in this country, that they might have. But we've said it without direct evidence. But this is that. They are saying that they're going to get writers and bloggers and people who write for, like, I'm saying Solana as an example. I don't know that that's one of the actual sites. But that's what this is. This is $1 million being shelled out to make people more supportive of her. And it's one thing if it's people arguing in some subreddit, but you don't think that some of that money could conceivably go to a person who writes for a blog or writes maybe for a small newspaper? Why not? That's social media as well. And that's a demonstration of what we've been talking about here at the Young Turks.